Hi guys, and welcome to a new Bo Reads World video. Today I'm bringing you my May wrap-up, and I would like to apologize in advance if I turn into a puddle during this video, because it's hella hot out here. Okay? Let's get on with it. So I read 5 books in May, which is only half of what I read in April, but April was quite an exception for me, so 5 books, yeah. Happy with that. I'll go through the books in the order that I read them, and the first one was an author that I always go to when I'm in a bit of a, I don't know what to read next, and that is Cecilia Ahern, and this one was Thanks for the Memories, and I have to say no thanks, because I've read 5 books of her previous to this, and I enjoyed all of them. Some were a 4-star, most of them a 3-star, but like I said, they're always my go-to author for a bit of light fluff when I've read too many books which were depressing or about war or those kind of things. And this is always a bit of romance, sometimes a bit of magical realism even. But this one, no, I just didn't get on with it. It was far too saccharine for me, far too twee. I just didn't get into the story, and yeah, 2-star read. I still like her writing style, but the story just wasn't for me, so yeah, but you know, they can't all be winners. Then the second book, because you know, I had the saccharine, I wanted to go back into something that was a bit more literate, and that was literate isn't the word. Literary, yeah, that's the one. And that was The Line of Beauty by Alan Hollinghurst, and oh my god, what a good book. In one of my previous videos in which I recommend 4 LGBT books that you should read, I recommended The Swimming Pool Library. I will link that video down below, but I hadn't read The Line of Beauty by Alan Hollinghurst yet. So this is a book that has been on my shelves for quite some time, so I finally decided to pick this up this month, and I really should have done this far more sooner because, like I said, such a good book, such a great book. This is about the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s, seen from a guy who has just arrived in London but has already, because of his schooling at Oxford, very strong connections to the political world, you know, the world of Margaret Thatcher in the 1980s in England, and he stays with an MP in the rich part of London, and this is about his connections, about his views on that world whilst being a gay man. So one side of his life is that, you know, political MP world of doing all the right things, but in his other part of his life, you know, he has anonymous gay sex in bushes, and you know, and then the AIDS epidemic strikes, and he sees his friends and the one that he has his adventures with being struck down by this disease, and it's about how those two worlds suddenly come crashing down on one another. And you know, some say that the middle part is a bit too boring, a bit too you know, there not a lot happens in there, but I have to say I don't agree, because you know, it sets the ending up really good, and then the ending happens and you're just, it's a whirlwind in only 50 pages or something like that. So yeah, one that I would definitely recommend if you haven't read any Alan Hollinghurst, this one or The Swimming Pool Library. You know, I liked both of them a lot, so yeah, this was a 5-star read for me this month. Then the third book is also by an author that I enjoyed the first book of a lot, and that is Chris van Steenberg, who is a Belgian author, and it's called Blindelings, which translates to, you know, blind, doing something blindly. But it's also, to my own shame, that I didn't discover to halfway this book. It's about somebody who's also blind. And you know, there's the stick and all on the cover, so when I figured it out, I was like, oh my god, how couldn't I have seen this from the beginning? Anyway, like I said, I really enjoyed his first book, which was called Woesten, which I also reviewed in a wrap-up sometime last year, I think. But this one didn't really live up to the expectations that I had built up based on his first book. There were a lot of cardboard characters, not a lot of depth. there was the evil mom who was mothering her son. There was the son who couldn't be independent because of that. There's the dad who was never there for his son and now wants to reconciliate. You know, all these tropes of characters that you come across in so many books, and if they are well written, you don't mind that much. But this, like I said, they were just cardboard characters, and yeah, I just gave it 2 stars. This was also a book club pick for my real life book club, and we all agreed that this didn't even touch the heels of his debut book, which is always a shame because you expect a lot of an author who has mesmerized you with his first book, but you know, the sophomore book is always a big challenge, I guess. Speaking of an author which I really enjoyed in the past and I have given always 5 stars to, and that is Andre Esseman and his new book Enigma Variations. This is a book that I have been searching for quite some time because it wasn't really in our bookstores, and online it cost like 30 euros, which is what, $40 or 25 pounds, which is a lot for a book. And then I came across it in a bookstore, one of my independent bookstores that I often visit in Ghent, and it was also there for 28 euros, which is only 2 euros less, but I decided to fuck it and just, you know, pick it up because I really wanted to read it. And that first chapter in this, for those who don't know, Andre Esseman is also the author who has written Call Me By Your Name, which I also talk about in my LGBTQ books that I would recommend. And I fell in love with that book the moment that I read it. I read that book on a Barcelona beach, and you know, the first chapter in this, it's a bit of, some say that these are short stories about the same man, because you know, it's about different parts in his life, but to me they are quite interlinked, so I see it just as a novel. And that first chapter or short story, whatever you may say it, is reminded me so much of Call Me By Your Name, about that endless Italian summer, first love, you know, grappling with your sexuality, all these kinds of things return in this first chapter, which made Call Me By Your Name so great. And then the chapters evolve into him being older and having other affairs, other lovers, you know, things like that. And I had to say that they didn't get to the same level as the first chapter did, because that was such a great chapter. And I even posted it on Instagram, I'll link my Instagram channel down below, about how I wanted to stop reading this after the first chapter, because I just knew that it wouldn't be this great. And you know, I ended up giving this a 4 star. I ended up giving this 4 stars because, you know, it was a really great book, but the first chapter was so great and the others weren't on the same level that I just couldn't give it 5 stars. And you know, it's my first book of his, because I've read 4 or 5 now by him, which I haven't given 5 stars, but you know, they just can't all be winners, right? So, but still, I would recommend it if only for the first chapter. And then finally, a book by an author which I haven't read anything of before, and that was Euphoria by Lily King. This is a book that I bought last year or the year before, just after I had read The People in the Trees by Hanya Yanagihara, because I really enjoyed the jungle theme, the unknown tribes that were featured in The People in the Trees. Of course, it was also about pedophilia and things like that, which don't really come across in this book. But you know, the anthropological aspect of that book returns in this book, which is why I picked it up after reading the blurb in a bookshop one day. And I hadn't picked it up, it was also sitting on my shelf like so many books that I have yet to read. And you know, with the warm weather of these past couple of weeks, I just decided that it was the time to immerse myself in the jungle of Papua New Guinea, which is featured in this book here. And it's about a sort of love triangle between 3 anthropologists. This is a weird word to say. Anthropologists. And you know, it's about you know, living in a jungle, surviving in a jungle, but also their you know, their relationships with each other, because it's two guys and one girl, and they a couple and another guy, and it's about, you know, their background, why they decided to do this, and you know, the ending is also quite but you know, I won't spoil anything, but you know, also a 4-star read for me, so yeah, also would recommend. So yeah, quite a good reading month. The 5 books were 4 stars or more, which, you know, I'll take that. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe if you really liked it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!